When does someone truly die? The lore behind Silver and Blood can be assumed as your typical medieval gothic vampire story, with themes of sin, curse of immortality, and clashes between factions. However, this game tackles the concept of immortality outside of exchanging of blood and asks the question, what does immortality actually mean? The developers did a great job with this game using mythological, Catholic, alchemical, and historical references hidden in the character design and lore. This video is more for scene skippers, new or returning players, or those who just want to understand the main lore without the extra analysis. I'll only summarize the main plot points from the prologue through the end of chapter 17, as the next part of the story hasn't been fully released. I also won't go through the side stories for the sake of the timeline. So think of this as a lore speedrun. Before we begin, I want to clarify that the story contains multiverses and time travel, which you may know from MCU, DC, Star Wars, or Kingdom Hearts. This concept is introduced early on and has been the biggest source of confusion within the player base. The main story is a reinterpretation of the Black Plague during the mid-1300s, which is also when the story begins. In Silver and Blood, it's called Black Blood Disease, a highly infectious disease which strips your humanity and makes you driven solely through instinct, effectively making you a beast with no memories or consciousness. Most become something called the blood beasts, which are the mobs you fight throughout the game. These mobs can be incapacitated, but near unkillable, because black blood can make you some form of immortal. Think of blood beasts as zombies. Now, I said black blood can make you near unkillable, not completely unkillable. This is one way Silver and Blood handles immortality. The rare few, like Noah Nevernight, are able to control the black blood in their veins, and they make up the Bloodborne. They are the vampires of the game. It's worth noting that not every Bloodborne began as a mortal who got infected. Some were born like that, and some were created using a fusion of their blood with the sire's blood. The story begins with Noah, infected with black blood disease, sitting across from Agaris, one of the 12 bell ringers of the church. Agaris explains that Noah will be executed for the sin of trying to defy death, the ultimate form of heresy. At this point, Noah is infected, but not yet a Bloodborne. But wait, what's this church? The Bloodborne is one faction of Silver and Blood, while the Tempest Church is another. Run by Saint Seth and served by her 12 bell ringers, the church serves Aeon, the first being of Menexus. Their goal is to restore the natural order of life and death, which the Bloodborne defy solely by existing. The bell ringers are also immortal, though it is seen as a gift or a blessing, since it's through the silver blood granted by Aeon. When the bell ringers pledge themselves to Aeon, the silver blood grants them the power to wield natural forces such as holy water, fire, light, wood stakes, sand, and thunder. This power is called Covenant. The 12 bell ringers, such as Agaris, Joan, Albrecht, and Acapella, are the highest ranking members of the church and serve Seth directly. You know a situation is dire if a bell ringer was deployed to handle it, as opposed to their vice commander. So there you have the hierarchy of the church. There's God, Aeon, her saint, Seth, Seth's 12 bell ringers, and each bell ringer is given a sidekick known as their vice commander. You have this war between the immortal Bloodborne and the church, who justify capturing and executing them under the sin of defying the natural order. Few question the church because they have spread the propaganda that only heretics get infected with black blood disease. Back to the story. The carriage falls off a cliff, Agaris is gone, and Noah meets Empusa. She's from the Bathory family and has come to retrieve Noah. While she tries to bring him back to the Bathory castle, Noah is captured by Agaris and executed. Yet, he wakes up in the Bathory castle. The Bathory are the most powerful Bloodborne family, led by the four elders, Baphomet, Bella, Spectral Gilrain, and Del Carlo. Members include Cain. Yes, Cain as in the biblical Cain, who murdered his brother Abel. There's also Lamia, Empusa's sister. The church actually used to be allies with the Bathory family, so Agaris claimed to let Empusa go out of respect to the Bathory. This is how the game explains Empusa managing to survive and bring Noah's blood back to the Bathory without being executed herself. But the story of the church versus the Bloodborne is way too easy. Within Bathory Castle, there is its own tension. The numbers and power of the Bathray have been dwindling over the years, and Elder Baphomet has proven to be a terrible leader. The family organizes a coup, and Baphomet is killed by Noah. Afterwards, Cain explains that the Bloodborne's true home is on the other side of the moon, but in order to get there, Noah needs to bring the 4 Moonblessed together. The Moonblessed are inspired by the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse: conquest, known as plague in Silver and Blood, famine, death, and war. They all have black blood, and when they come together, they become the key to unlocking the Bloodborne's ancestral home. Noah, with the help of Impuza and Iona, set off to find these Moonblessed. Their first stop is in Lupine Forest, where they encounter the Ganelon werewolf family and meet Hattie. They're rapidly dying of black blood disease, but the Ganelons are one of the 12 most loyal families to the church. The 12 loyal families are important because it introduces another faction known as Kingdom. Think of them as your normal, everyday person caught in the feud between the Bloodborne and the church. Most of them follow the teachings of the church, and the 12 most loyal families protect one of the 11 sources of black blood disease. Each family has someone deemed the Gravekeeper who pledges their life for the role. These families also produce candidates for future bell ringers. Remember when I said the Bathory used to be allied with the church? They were originally one of the Gravekeeper families, but ended up using the power of the black blood for themselves. That's why there's now only 11 Gravekeeper families, despite there being 12 sources. But wait, if these Gravekeeper families are so loyal to the church that they would pledge an heir's life for them, how can they get infected with a disease that only targets heretics? Hattie doesn't understand this either, as the church invades Ganelon territory. She rushes to find her father, a Gravekeeper, and sees that he's fully succumbed to beast form. Once they defeat him, they enter the Divine Body, which is a place that seals a source of black blood disease. Those sources of black blood disease are called Calamities. This part of the story has a ton of time travel, so to summarize, Noah accidentally travels 20 years in the past. He helps defeat the Calamity, and he comes back to the present and learns that despite the Calamity being gone, insects were feeding on the corpse and spreading it through the village as they left the Divine Body. That infectiousness is due to the Calamity being plague. And they learn that plague has a Moonblessed twin who happens to be Hattie. Yeah, that's news to her too. Hattie is the sole survivor of her family. As she departs, Thibault, a bell ringer, eradicates her family to stop the spread of black blood. 1 Moonblessed found, 3 more to go. Their next stop is on a ship called El Dorado, where they meet Captain Christoph Goldlin and Amy, a young woman who aspires to be captain someday. She's usually seen eating something because she's always hungry. The ship is headed to a place called Sunset Isle, which is Noah's homeland that he has no memory of. There's also a Moonblessed said to be on the Sunset Isle. On the ship, Noah gets jumped by Van Helsing, who is part of the Silver Cross. Think of them as the church's elite deliverers of justice. Noah and Van Helsing end up needing to work together because there's a black blood outbreak on the ship. Despite the outbreak, which is discovered to be from the contaminated food, Amy continues eating, and Noah is curious how she manages to be okay. She's not turning into a blood beast like the rest of the crew. She figures that everyone else just has weak stomachs, but Noah believes that if she's not transforming like the rest of them, perhaps she's like him and also able to harness the power of the black blood. Amy was found at sea by the crew, so no one knows Amy's origins. Christoph had been suspicious that Amy may be descended from the Landis family. Yes, like from the lost city of Atlantis. They were another family loyal to the church. Then we see William, Christoph's twin, and a crewmate, Leo, were actually working together behind Christoph's back, running a black blood smuggling business. He confronts them, suggesting to William that they just kill Leo and pin everything on him. William decides to kill Christoph instead and rope his body to the mast. Through Helsing's investigation, everyone else finally realizes that Christoph, who was with them and interacting with them, was actually William. He had impersonated the captain to hijack the ship and turn everyone into blood beasts in an offering to the famine Calamity. The bolt was created from the divine body that the Landis family once protected. However, Famine just ends up eating William because what she truly wanted was to fuse with Amy, who we now learn is a Moonblessed. With the help of Acapella the bell ringer, who snuck aboard and hid in a barrel, so I didn't really mention her previously, they defeat the Calamity, though El Dorado gets wrecked in the process. That's okay though, because that's 2 out of 4 Moonblessed they needed to collect. Noah washes up alone on the deserted Sunset Isle and meets Piera, a gravekeeper and last living member of the Paracelsus family. Noah falls off a cliff where he meets the memory of Regina, Piera's grandmother. These memories are called longings, and they're basically personifications of how a person is remembered. Regina tells Noah of how 60 years ago there was a mass tragedy where the people of Sunset Isle believed the church was lying to them, so they pledged themselves to the death calamity. Regina called the church for help and entrusted Piera to go with them. Gravekeepers of this calamity live very short lives, and Regina didn't want that for Piera. The death calamity did get resealed, but the event was so horrific, even a bell ringer was said to be killed in the process. Speaking of bell ringers, Acapella uses her power of controlling air to bring herself and her vice commander / sister, Darcius, to Sunset Isle. This place is personal to her because the bell ringer she served as a vice commander to seemed to have died here. Since Acapella was an orphan who struggled with this music that was constantly playing in her head, it was a big deal to her that she was adopted by a bell ringer, only to witness that bell ringer's supposed death. She's also here because the church knows there's a traitor among them, and they are dispatching bell ringers to find that person. A rumble shakes Sunset Isle. Noah and Regina find Piera about to perform the covenant to seal death, which is starting to attack the island. Noah ends up in this liminal space where he meets another version of himself. He realizes that this is the death calamity, and Noah is the Moonblessed. He takes on the power of the death calamity, becoming transcendent Noah. Noah's companions find him, and he manages to take a jellyfish off the island right before it explodes. Now he has plague, famine, and death. War is the final one. The church is thinking, oh man, we've really got to go find this traitor. So they head to Starfall Valley, and they have a good idea who this traitor is. We get a glimpse of Agaris reminiscing about his time as a slave for the gravekeeper family, the Corells. During that time, they ran Hunger Games style events promising freedom and a name to the person who became victorious. Fueled by the desire to be free, Agaris wins and earns the name Brenhalt, only to learn that Brenhalt is an honorable name to the one that will be sacrificed. With the help of the Corell princess, now known as Mass, Agaris manages to escape and lead an army of slaves against the Corells. At this point, him and Cain are allied because Agaris wanted his army of former slaves to rise up with the unsealing of Lemine, giving power back to the people, while Cain also wanted to awaken her to unleash the Long Night, one of the Scourges. So in Silver and Blood there are 4 Moonblessed, but there are also 8 Scourges. The story has yet to release all of those Scourges. The bell ringer, Joan, another former slave who fought her way out of a different family's gladiator battles, is the most powerful bell ringer in terms of combat. She's actually so powerful, she split her power into 100 pieces when she joined the bell ringers just because she was bored and she wanted to have some competition. Joan finds Agaris and challenges him to an all-out fight, both of them in their full Covenant forms. They're locked in a stalemate, but Mass takes a cheap shot and removes Joan, giving Agaris the out to unseal Lemine. However, Lemine needs a vessel. In Far Side of the Moon, it's explained that many copies of vessels who look like Empusa and Lamia were created. They needed to go through a series of fights and make it to the other side. Most of them never got past the first battle. That other side contained a few clones who also got past the first battles, but then they're all ordered to battle it out amongst each other just for freedom. Empusa won, though it's never explained how Lamia got out alive. They also didn't know that they were going to be used as vessels for Lemine. To prevent the bell ringers from stopping Lamine's awakening, Cain trapped some of them in a space outside of time. Some of the other bell ringers are locked in fights against the Bathory, or we see their incapacitated bodies scattered around Starfall. But Cain and Agaris have now turned on each other. Impuza is the chosen one for Lemine by winning the trials, while Lamia is the runner-up. Cain wanted Impuza to be the vessel. Agaris wanted Lamia, but Lamia just wants to save her sister, Impuza. Cain won, and Lemine is awakened through Impuza. Lemine immediately demands to be fed by the whole kingdom. She doesn't want just some of them, she wants to eat all of them. We also see two members of the kingdom faction, Cecia and Florent, staring up at the red moon. Perhaps this is foreshadowing some sort of kingdom uprising. We don't fully know what's happened to the church because not every member arrived at Starfall. Albrecht, Joyce didn't appear. This arc of the story closes with Lemine and Seth in what seems to be a chess game, Seth telling Lemine to make her move. We also see Joan's fingers flickering, and she becomes an important part of the beginning of the next arc, but we'll have to see where that story goes. Also crucial to Silver and Blood, especially in terms of Cain, is his brother, Abel. The first 12 alchemists who ingested the blood of Abel were the first sources of black blood. Biblically, when Abel was killed, Adam and Eve had a third son, Seth, who was Abel's replacement while Cain was cast out. Seth in Silver and Blood is the chosen one by God. So what exactly is immortality? Perhaps it's as simply as not wanting to die. So you perform every defiance against God, church, and even your own friends and family. Or being able to keep your memories without being reduced to a zombie, as we've seen in the infected blood beast versus the people who can control the black blood. Maybe it's to be remembered. As long as someone remembers you or you leave a legacy behind, you are immortalized. So that's the speed run of the prologue up until chapter 17. There are a lot of things I skipped for the sake of a speed run, but if there's anything you want to share, anything you want to add, go ahead and do so in the comments or feel free to tag me in the lore Discord.